Hi there, and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. We're back again here in the thick of December now, the holiday season, and tonight is trailer night. We're going to be talking about quite a few high-profile trailers that have been released in the past week as we prepare ourselves for the summer 2020 movie season, which is kind of hard to fathom as I say that. We're still 6 months away. But here to talk about that and other things, I'm Illeagle86, and of course we have Nerdbomber.
Hello, everybody.
And our good friend Techtic.
Heyo.
So, heyo. So we have a full show just from the trailers, but we're also going to be talking a little bit about BioShock, and if there's time, a few other things as well. And Nerdbomber has a fun quiz for us today.
Super festive.
It's Hallmark Christmas Movies, real or fake, I would assume. I don't know anything else than that, obviously, because if I did, I would be cheating. But very excited for that, and just in general, very excited for another great episode. So we can dive right in to what might be the highest profile trailer. I mean, we got three really big ones here, but people have been talking about Wonder Woman 1984 for, oh gosh, it's been at least a year. Probably since Wonder Woman came out, people have been talking about what the sequel is going to be like. And the first trailer was just released, I want to say it was over this past weekend. So I guess I just kind of want to get your guys', as we often do with trailer talk, what's your initial thought here? What's your initial rating for the trailer if you had to give it one?
If I had to give it a rating, so I'm going to be honest, the 80s don't really jive with me. I just have no nostalgia for the 80s. So, like, it looked interesting to me, but I would still give it, like, a cool maybe 7. I had a lot of issues with the trailer that aren't related to the 80s either. I don't know if Techtic wants to give his rating or if I should just jump into some of my misgivings about the trailer, even though I'm so very excited about the movie. Techtic, what do you think? Do you want to give your rating?
I thought it was a really, really good movie simply because I did my research of who the main villain was, and there is a huge bait and switch if you haven't done the research. So I encourage looking into that spoiler because it's totally worth it and it'll blow your mind.
But how would you rate the trailer?
I thought the trailer was good because it led you to believe that that one older looking gentleman is the villain and she's constantly chasing that person, and it's got the 80s theme and he seems super classic 80s villain, and that's why I liked it, because they really stayed true with the timeline, and it didn't really feel like it was a movie that came out now.
So I guess my main other misgiving, even though I thought a lot of it looked awesome, was the fact that Steve Trevor is, spoiler, if you haven't seen the first movie, he's alive. He has somehow come back to life. And I know that they're basically leading you to believe that, like, she makes a wish that Steve Trevor was back or something, and then she has to give something up or something bad happens as a result. But that just seems like some genie shiznit. I don't like it, man. I don't like that.
Well, okay. First of all, I agree with you completely. Now, you could say that Chris Pine never dies because, I mean, look at that guy. He probably never dies. But I similarly watched the trailer, and, I mean, first of all, I have an issue with him coming back in general, but if you're going to bring Steve Trevor back, I feel like there's got to be a way to release a trailer where you keep that under wraps. Like it could have been a great reveal, either in a later trailer or in the movie itself, and they just kind of put all their cards on the table here. Also, in the vein of putting cards on the table, I just Googled the title of this movie to make sure I had the details in front of me, and Techtic, the bait and switch you're talking about, was just spoiled for me. So, I didn't get any of that from watching the trailer. The trailer is kind of just very slick-looking 80s visuals, and, you know, this is the first time of multiple times on this episode where I'm going to draw like a Stranger Things kind of comparison. It's happening in that same era. You have that mall that looks very similar to the season 3 mall. So, like, it's giving me a Stranger Things vibe. It's giving me
Glow. Glow is one of the first things that comes to mind. Okay, I don't know if you ended up watching that, Illeagle, but
never did.
This feels a lot like Glow in terms of even just like the neon lights and the mall scene and just like all of the throwbacks to the 80s, which obviously, I mean, it's another period piece, which I'm excited for. Like, that was one of the things that I really liked about the first Wonder Woman. I think it's just the Steve Trevor thing is going to be a major hurdle for me to jump over, because I think that death that they did in the first this movie for him. That was super impactful, and I felt like that really would be a good motivator and driver for her character moving forward. But if he comes back, like, even if they could stagger it with another movie, like assuming that they have a trilogy of Wonder Woman movies planned, if they could stagger it even, but it feels like he literally just died. We don't really get a chance for that to sink in and see how that influenced her character.
I'm going to ask that you start calling these movies genre pieces, because every time you call it a period piece and it's a strong female character, I'm sorry, that's where my head goes. Every time I'm like, why do you keep calling it that?
I mean, but it is.
That seems like a you problem.
It is. It's technically a period piece. Like the last one was during the World War, and now it's during the 80s. I mean, they're really picking iconic periods of time, no pun intended for the woman superhero. And I think, I mean, that was a really strong point in the first movie. I would love to see that again. I hope they somehow bring the 80s home like they did in the original Wonder Woman.
So I actually love that you related it to Glow, by the way, because here's the major spoiler, folks. If you don't want to be spoiled, I would suggest avoiding all information about this movie because it's very quickly
I looked
found.
it up. I saw it in 5 seconds, so just don't look the movie up.
Yeah, the main villain is Cheetah, and she's played by Kristen Wiig. So I thought that they were going to be kind of like just like best friends, and she was going to be like a supporting role. No, she is the main villain, and that's why I love that you correlated to Glow, because we literally are going to have gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yeah, so yeah, you get this vibe that Kristen Wiig is going to be like the gal pal to Wonder Woman. And of course, they give you the vibe, both with casting and the trailer, that Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Ward, is going to be the main villain. And you mentioned before, in what brief research I did, I mean, it was really like reading Reddit comments, but like probably how Steve Trevor comes back is Maxwell Ward grants some wish to Wonder Woman to have him come back, and then it's going to cost something and blah, 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 plotting. But I would have never gotten the switch with Cheetah in watching the trailer. My other main gripe, and it's hardly much of a gripe, it's really just a comic book movie gripe, or like a me not having Wonder Woman knowledge gripe. But like I guess I don't understand what the whip does, because
the whip is
it's
everything.
a lasso of truth.
It's used in a lot of different ways in this trailer.
I think, are you specific? I kind of had a feeling that you were going to go towards the lightning. See, I thought that was really badass.
I can't get there. It doesn't make sense. Let's swing it over to our science chair. Techtic. Does it make sense?
Well,
doesn't make sense.
That was introduced in the first one, when she basically was shown to be kind of a god. So that's just playing off.
She's not swinging on lightning.
But she was. Remember, she was blasting through the God of War's lightning and bolts and all his other stuff. So this is just a continuation of what kind of her abilities that was shown in Wonder Woman 1 or World War 2.
I will say I'm into the gold suit. I don't know, knowing nothing about comics and like where that fits into her mythos, I dig it for sure. I think this movie has all the pieces. I think, you're bringing back Patty Jenkins to direct, who did such a great job on the first one. You have, obviously, Gal Gadot coming back, Robin Wright. You have some really strong supporting cast members being added, and Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal.
I mean, you have the Baby Yoda protector.
Oh, right. Yeah. He's on a roll right now. This is a big month for him.
Oh,
big few months, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm relatively on board. Like, if I were to give the trailer a rating, it would be probably a 6 or 7. I mean, when it comes, so my last DC movie experience was Aquaman, which I did not care for. I know Aquaman got great reviews, wasn't for me. Wonder Woman is an exception to the rule of DC movies being just not very good. So
I have a question.
I'm very hesitant. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you see Shazam?
I did not see Shazam.
Ooh, bad move.
I missed that one, but again, that's kind of part of the problem, is that DC has me so gun shy, like incredibly gun shy. And also, I think Shazam was either just before or just after Endgame, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a break from comic books for a while, and that's kind of where I am with that. But I mean, if ever DC was to get me into the theater again, it would be for the second Wonder Woman because of how good the first one was. So I'm relatively on board. I'm kind of back and forth on certain aspects of this trailer, as I think Nerdbomber, you are as well.
Yeah, like, I think overall, I'm excited to see the movie. I'm definitely going to see the movie because I really, really loved the first one. I think out of all of the superhero movies that I've seen in the last few years, that one was probably one of my biggest standouts. And I mean, that says a lot considering we were literally in the end game phase of the Avengers cinematic experience. So I'm excited for it. I do have a lot of faith in Patty Jenkins. She said already that the Steve Trevor resurrection isn't going to be a gimmick. I guess she probably had gotten this question like, oh, because I think it leaked that Chris Pine was back in the movie. I think there was like some kind of shot of him on set that got out into the public.
So wait. Not going to be a gimmick, meaning he's like back for good, or like, I don't know what that means.
She means like not a gimmick. From what I understood of the interview, she said that Steve Trevor's return is going to be crucial to Wonder Woman's character development in some way. It's going to put her in some kind of pickle or have her learn and grow from it in some kind of scenario. They didn't really go into too much detail in the interview, but she basically said that it wasn't just like a one-off so that like he would just be back in the show. I guess it's like a well thought out planned thing.
Now, granted, you know, it could be for a variety of reasons, but did you guys see Justice League?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, first of all, you're better off. Second of all, they at least heavily imply in Justice League that he is dead, which at the time makes perfect sense because he died in Wonder Woman. But now they kind of have this question of like, all right, like, is he going to come back and stay alive? Or it sounds like he's part of this wish thing. So like he'll eventually probably, like at the end of this movie, maybe he'll just die again, or maybe he'll just be really old. I mean, 1984 is a long way from whenever Justice League came out, 2015 or something, 2016. I don't remember what year it was. So maybe he just is old and died. I don't really know, but there's like, I remember like a certain scene from Justice League of like her continuing to like miss him. And I was like, yeah. I mean, at the time, I didn't think anything of it because he very much died in the plane crash and like really no coming back from that. So,
well, I mean, this is probably like the movie narcissist in me, or not. That's not the right word, but this skeptic maybe. But you know that all of these movies are slightly predictable, at least a little bit. So,
sure.
In my opinion, what's going to happen is somehow she's going to get her wish and he's going to come back. And then that's going to lead to her giving something up to her enemy. And then he even says in the trailer at one point, like, the world needs you or something, you know what you have to do, or something along those lines. Probably didn't quote that directly.
Something very heroic.
But you know,
heroic.
She's going to have to like either go back in time and get rid of that wish ever happening or sacrifice him to make sure that the world is safe.
Totally predictable. I 100% agree with you.
So what I want to see, I want to see, and this will never happen, but I want to see a situation in which she has to kill him.
I could see that happening. It would be like
where I am.
The ultimate sacrifice, and he's coming to terms with it or something. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah. Either way, Wonder Woman 1984 looks like it's going to be a big one. June 5th, 2020. So this is, again, one of the headliners from the summer movie season. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think all three of these that we're going to talk about are going to be summer movies, which brings us into our next one, which is much less a franchise and much more kind of an original idea that could be very, very interesting. And yeah, this is also in summer, July 3rd of next year. Free Guy. So Free Guy is another one that I think has been talked about for some time, not quite as much as Wonder Woman, obviously, but essentially what we have here is Ryan Reynolds is a video game non-playable character. And he kind of has this awakening where he realizes that he doesn't have to get walked all over by playable characters, and various things seem to ensue. So again, this trailer, I think there was much more going on. There's just stuff going on for this entire trailer. It's very busy, very good, I thought. There's just a lot to it. So initial thoughts, Techtic, what do you have?
So I got a huge Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet vibe from it. I don't know about you guys, but even with the like glitchy things that were kind of happening in the background, it 100% felt like a live action Wreck-It Ralph. the other side of it is, and that also happened in Wreck-It Ralph once when he jumped into other video games and had his own consciousness. It's literally that in live action. But overall, kind of a feel-good movie. I had a lot of laughs just watching the trailer. And as a gamer myself, I always kind of abuse the
NPCs.
AI. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of footage of that in the trailer.
So Skyrim is a phenomenal example of abusing AI with the old put the basket over their head so that you can steal things from them.
You can steal them? Wow.
Yes. No. So in Skyrim, there's a notorious glitch where all you have to do to steal things and not get caught is put a basket over their head, and that's it. And
it's like real life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so people just rank up their sneak points doing that, and it's just totally rude to the AI, and it's time for them to make a stance and stand up for themselves. So I'm very much excited about this movie. I would probably honestly give it an 8 for a feel-good summer movie.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
So your comparison of Wreck-It Ralph, I hadn't thought about that before, but that is 100% spot on. This definitely feels like a more adult-themed, feel-good Wreck-It Ralph, like full of video game nostalgia, targeted to really pull in all of us gamers and give us all of those like fun Easter eggs throughout this entire movie. I mean, and the casting was awesome. You can't beat Ryan Reynolds. If you're going to have some kind of nerdy, quirky, self-aware type movie, Ryan Reynolds is the guy that you want for the job. We've seen it time and time again, whether it's Deadpool, Detective Pikachu, and pretty much any movie. Like, there's so many Ryan Reynolds movies. I think he's one of the funniest actors that we have in current times. And I'm super excited about this. It seems like you said, it's going to be very feel good. It'll be a fun adventure. You're not going to walk away thinking it's going to be this like epic movie or something like that, but it's going to be something that you remember. You had a lot of chuckles about. Kind of, I could see it becoming like a cult classic almost, like a Zombieland or something like that. So
yeah, for sure.
I am on board. I'm here for this.
Well, and so you mentioned, I think the key thing, which is any scenario that you put Ryan Reynolds in that allows him to break the fourth wall that's really the important thing. And granted, I don't expect him to do that here the way that he does it in Deadpool, where Deadpool, he's this very smart alecky, overly confident character. I think this is going to involve him kind of learning the ropes more so than Deadpool ever did, which will be interesting. But I think again, that breaking the fourth wall thing, it's still going to give him a lot of chances for the humor that he tends to be known for, like you said, between Detective Pikachu and Deadpool. And I also would mention Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw, which he has a cameo in, and he's absolutely fantastic. Other cast members, though, that I'm particularly excited about. Joe Keery. From Stranger Things, that's Steve Harrington. It's probably not his big screen debut, but it's easily his biggest movie that he's had. I mean, I don't know of any other movies he's been in. So that's kind of exciting. I'm excited to see what he does with that. And then I actually thought Taika Waititi was directing this movie. He directed a bunch of other things, including Jojo Rabbit, which just came out. But he's actually a cast member in it, and he's super hilarious. He was Korg in Thor Ragnarok. So super, super excited about that. They have a fantastic cast here. I think the premise has a lot of juice. I was laughing a lot. Like I said, the trailer features a lot of just NPCs getting totally abused and kind of just like ignoring it, like getting up and walking away. And it's a game for, I want to say it's not a game, a movie. I want to say it's a movie for people who have played Grand Theft Auto. But at this point, Grand Theft Auto is kind of a part of our culture, as like a part of our pop culture. Even if you haven't played it, there's a lot that you can watch this trailer and understand. And
so I'm glad you mentioned that. So there was a lot of winks at various video games. We saw Grand Theft Auto based on the map layout. We saw a little bit of Fortnite based on the jumping out and landing onto the ground. Is there any game kind of winks that you would really, really want to see?
Oh boy. My gut first thought, The Sims. I don't know how they would do that, but The Sims, I think, is another very similar kind of game where you have these people that you're controlling, and what if they learned that they were being controlled? You know, that's much simpler. It's not very actiony, but The Sims is also like kind of part of our lexicon now.
In that vein, I wonder why there hasn't been a Sims movie like that. I feel like you could have a good hour 45 movie based around The Sims becoming self-aware. That would be hilarious.
Right. And in a world where there really is no original content anymore, it is surprising that someone hasn't like just played The Sims randomly and been like, hey, I could easily make a movie out of this. But yeah, I mean, I laughed. The part that made me laugh the hardest was when he's in the bank, obviously, and him and the security guard are laying down and they're swinging their feet back and forth, talking to each other. It's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff that I think is going to be just fantastic.
I would like to see like some kind of fantasy game representation, because something maybe like a Fallout or a Skyrim, basically like your RPG where you're going to collect and fetch quests for NPCs, and you just get into some like really weird dialogue loops sometimes with the NPCs. So I would love to see some kind of play on that.
I was hoping
that is the question. Sorry, go ahead.
I was hoping for a wink at Super Mario Brothers. So like there's a plumber fixing a pipe and all of a sudden he just jumps down the drain and everyone's just like, okay, that's normal.
So with all this in mind, the question is, what do they have the rights to? You know, like I don't know how sticky things get with video game IP. You know, can they make a Mario Brothers reference that's very clearly Mario Brothers? You know, like I have no idea.
That gets into like some sticky legal stuff that I don't claim to know anything about, but I want to say that as long as you're adding commentary or what is the word? What does Weird Al do?
Parody.
Yes, if you parody something, it's usually
satire
in
would
the
also be a
clear.
word.
Yeah, satire. So I think as long as they don't directly pull any like logos or anything, if they just kind of like wink at something without being direct about it, I think they can get away with a lot of stuff. And the thing is too, like amongst all video games, there's so many different recurring themes that any reference could easily be a number of games. You know what I mean?
Right.
So instead of Super Mario Brothers, mustache Italian plumbers.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But like we've seen this sort of formula work, and granted, not exactly the same formula, but like they got a lot of comedic fuel. Like they got a lot of mileage out of the video game shtick in Jumanji, which if you haven't seen Jumanji, it was really good. And you know, like you mentioned, kind of like poking fun at RPG elements. There's kind of a scene in Jumanji where they do that, and it's really funny, and and that's exactly the kind of thing too that's not specific to one game. It's just like, oh, okay, here's what my skills are, here's what my skill tree looks like, and you know, they have a lot of fun with that. So there's so much potential in this premise, and I'm really, really excited to see what they do with it.
Oh man, could you imagine the commentary that they could put in there about like loot boxes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I you know, that's a good point too. Is that I really think one of the bigger questions is how biting do they want to be? You know, do they want to poke fun in a way that's not so innocent? Could be a very interesting element here. And also, are we going to see anything outside the video game world? I would say the answer is probably no, but you never know. You know, maybe the movie ends with, you know, them panning out from a screen and who's playing the game, like Betty White or something. Like it could be like a fun like celebrity cameo or something. You know what I mean?
Can you please like pitch that at Ryan Reynolds and see if he can run with that? Because Ryan Reynolds and Betty White have been in a movie together, so he can make that happen.
Yeah, they have. The Proposal.
Yep.
What a movie! If anyone hasn't seen The Proposal, it's very average. But it's on TV a lot. So.
It was like a rom-com in the decline days of rom-coms. You know, like that was one of the last ones as they were on the decline, and they weren't really becoming these big blockbuster releases. Now they're all just like Netflix movies. So you got to give it a little bit of credit for being one of the fighting few at the end of the rom-com era.
It was like Sandra Bullock's rom-com swan song kind of thing, which I'm not a big Sandra Bullock fan, but that's a topic for another time. So to wrap up Free Guy, July 3rd, 2020 is when this one drops. Could be very, very exciting. Ryan Reynolds is also producing, so he has some skin in the game on this one. Clearly thinks it's a great concept, which I would agree with him on that one. Before we hit our break, why don't we keep on trucking here and get to the last of our 3 trailers that we want to talk about. This is another huge one that has been at least hinted at for at least a year, and that's Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, this is the other one that I was getting huge Stranger Things vibes, and not just because Finn Wolfhard is in the movie and in the trailer. It's going to focus on a bunch of kids getting a hold of Ghostbusters gear. It's what it looks like. But I'm super, super here for it. I don't know. What did you guys think?
So I was very excited. I think the trailer looked great. Obviously, Paul Rudd is in it, so I am down for that. I think the callbacks to the original Ghostbusters is great, and tying it directly was amazing. I think they shouldn't be able to screw this one up. I think after the more or less giant disaster that was the last Ghostbusters take, I think they probably have done a lot of market research and just soul searching to make sure that this is the right direction for the movie. I think
it's going to be much less irreverent.
Yeah,
I think is the key. The Ghostbusters disaster, I think, was it was a lot more poking fun at, like, here's this goofy movie we made in the 80s. Let's, like, do more jokes with it. This is more like treating it like what it is, which is, again, this, like, cultural staple of, like, it's being approached with reverence, and we're bound to see, I would think, Bill Murray, but maybe Dan Aykroyd's still alive, isn't he? Yeah, I actually don't know.
I don't know. I think so. I'm not sure.
If he died, I missed it. But anyways, you were saying, continue.
The only thing, so I'm just used to, I guess, the Ghostbusters being adults, and I feel like I always have to bring up, like, my Debbie Downer point, but I have to stress enough that I really enjoyed both this trailer and Wonder Woman. So I'm looking forward to seeing these movies, but there's a little small part of me that hates that it's kind of feeling like a kid movie. But at the same time, like, it worked with Jumanji, it worked with a Goosebumps movie, so I just have to, like, maintain the faith. You know what I mean?
Right. I get that vibe. I understand wanting it to be, you want it to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
And granted, I'm not even sure, like, Ghostbusters may very well have been marketed as a kids movie. I don't think it was, but it was probably PG. I don't know. I just tried looking it up and wasn't very successful. But I think it's supposed to be a family movie. Also, for what it's worth, I'm not going to spoil who's coming back, but again, I googled the movie to say when it's coming out and stuff, and it tells me who in the cast is coming back.
Oh, good.
And so if you want that information for yourself, look it up. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. But yeah, I can understand that fear of is it just going to be like, a kids movie, which, granted, kids movies can be fine. Like The Goonies is, like, this, again, kind of 80s, very important movie in our collective culture. But yeah, you want it to be taken seriously, and I totally understand that.
So from my perspective, first and foremost, I 100% agree with you that this one has very much a Stranger Things vibe. I do not agree with the Wonder Woman one, but this one, oh yeah. Secondly, you guys all know my favorite thing to do is to speculate who and what, and I'm not looking it up, nor will I look it up, as far as what additional original Ghostbusters cast may or may not be in it. However, I do want to speculate that who the grandfather that isn't around anymore is, and I believe that it's Dr. Egon Spengler. Or
it has to be.
It has to be. The glasses are spot on. The granddaughter, quote unquote, looks just like him. And for those of you who don't know, that's Harold Ramis, and he is not going to be in it because he unfortunately had passed away. Yeah, he had passed away in 2014. But I think it'd be a nice tribute that they could do, which I'm a big fan of that, because he was, like, a big part of the original cast and a big part of the personality of the team. So I'm very excited if they do go that route, and if he is in fact the grandfather. And I hope I'm right on this one.
So I think you are, and I actually hadn't considered the physical likeness between him and the daughter, but that's a big thing. But like, there are questions here. I do think that the grandfather is Harold Ramis. The real question to me is, how did they go from New York City? I think they were in New York City to like way out in the boonies, wherever they are. Did they get forced out there? Did they get outlawed because people were upset that they were ghosts? Like, there's a lot of juicy plot when you let a movie sit here for 30 years. There's a lot of gray area to be filled in, and Paul Rudd, I think, is going to be the vehicle for a lot of that. He's kind of serving as the same character that the physics teacher in Stranger Things is, which he's the exposition guy. He's the explainer. He's the one who folds a piece of paper and pokes a hole through it and says, "This is what a wormhole is." Paul Rudd's going to be that, and he'll probably tell us what wound up happening to the Ghostbusters.
I think
because right now we don't know.
I think specifically his role in this is actually a fanboy. Like, he grew up watching them, and he made all this cool, fake equipment just to like dress up and go to different Comic-Cons and things like that. And now he gets to be an adult and really live it. So I really, really hope that he geeks out the whole thing like a kid in a candy shop.
Well, and it serves two purposes, right? First of all, it gives older audience members kind of someone to live the movie through. They can see themselves in Paul Rudd as being this person who's just so excited about like, oh, the Ghostbusters are back, and like I remember the Ghostbusters when I was a kid. And it also gives the kids a character to like, there are going to be kids who go see this movie who haven't seen the original and don't know. So like, having a Paul Rudd character to tell them that is super, super important to this movie's success. So yeah, I mean, obviously there was a teaser before this where we just saw the car basically, but there's a lot more here. And of the three trailers that we've talked about today, this is probably the one that I'm the most excited about.
I would agree with you there. I think they have so much to gain from this movie. They have, like, in terms of just reputation, they have so much to just make back up from the last Ghostbusters that I think this one will really truly be the movie that we thought that one might be.
So can I ask you guys one more question?
Go for it.
Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
I'm going to call the Italian mustache plumbers because I got myself a leaky faucet. So Ghostbusters Afterlife, July 10th, 2020. So again, the summer movie slate is starting to fill in. There's a lot to be excited for. I feel like I'm making a complete 180 on what I said last week when we talked about this ET commercial, which I didn't really care for that because it feels like digging something up that shouldn't be dug up. And I don't really have an explanation for my complete 180. I watched this and I was immediately into it.
I think it's because this property, like I said, it was already dug up. So now it just has to redeem itself.
So it could be that. It could also be that E.T. has a much more... The story of E.T. should be much more confined and by itself. Like, at the end of E.T., E.T. leaves. At the end of Ghostbusters, they're like, well, let's keep Ghostbusters. Like, there's nothing that is stopping them from continuing to Ghostbust and like create potential future plots. And granted, that's not really what's happening here, but it's a variant of that. So that may be why. But either way, Ghostbusters Afterlife, July 10th, 2020. Get hyped for that. And get hyped for this ad break where we shout out some of our friends.
Hey everybody, this is Sedge.
And this is King Kegel, aka Lightsaber Ninja.
And we're two of the three hosts of Gaming Casual, a gaming podcast where three idiots discuss games in the gaming industry casually. Sometimes we get along, sometimes we disagree, and sometimes we go on 45-minute rants about consoles that haven't released yet.
Hey, I'm innocent here.
Bullshit. Check us out on Podbean, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes release every Thursday.
And not for nothing, but every single person that listens to our podcast happens to be a genius. And attractive.
We are back, and it's good to be back. And before we continue on with some of our news topics, I do want to shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Ben Checkness. Our good friend Ben joined us a couple episodes ago now for a guest spot. He's been a supporter of ours for quite a while, and we really appreciate him. He supports us at the topmost of our 3 tiers of Patreon support, which is the night level. And as a result, he gets access to our monthly secret segments and vlogs. And in addition to that, he also gets to provide some input into our weekly game segment every week, which he did this week as well. And he also gets the shout out like I'm doing right now. So that's pretty cool. And after I think 3 months, he gets a guest spot. So he's been on twice now, and he'll probably be on again, I would imagine. So you want to be like Ben. If you can't quite be as cool as Ben, which is fair because he's a pretty cool guy, we also have tier 2 of support, which is the Squire level. That gets you access to our monthly secret segment and our monthly vlog. And then there's also the lowly page, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. So if you are interested in supporting us, we love doing this, and we really would appreciate that. You can head on over to patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. More details there. So we're going to shift away from trailers and shift into the land of video games. And Nerdbomber is going to tell us all about a shakeup in the land of baseball video games.
Right. So for those of you who are into baseball games, there's really one major franchise other than RBI Baseball, which isn't as widespread as the most well-known one, which is MLB The Show. So for the last, I don't even know how long, MLB The Show has been a PlayStation exclusive because it's actually developed by one of Sony's in-house studios. Well, the MLB actually just confirmed that they extended their licensing deal with Sony for a few more years, which means that Sony's in-house studio will continue to make the game. However, for the first time ever, MLB The Show will actually now be available on Xbox and Switch and other platforms and not just be a Sony exclusive. So they said that because the MLB The Show for 2020 is already scheduled for release in March for the PlayStation 4, we probably won't see it extend to other consoles this coming year, but they could make the jump to the Xbox and Switch and other platforms as early as 2021. So that is crazy, and that's huge because it's basically 2 decades of this game being a PlayStation exclusive, and probably one of the first times that we've seen a PlayStation in-house game development studio have games go onto other platforms. We've seen it with Xbox before, and Nintendo, I believe, has had some franchises extend into Xbox and PlayStation, but this is the first time that we've seen Sony really expand their reach and get onto other platforms.
So the craziest thing you said to me, so you said for the past 2 decades, like if you were an Xbox owner and you wanted to play a baseball game, you were your host?
For the most part, the only franchise that I really know that's been out there is RBI Baseball, which it's considered to be a good game, but it's not like your realistic game like NBA 2K or NHL or Madden or something like that. Like if you want that type of experience in baseball, you have to play MLB The Show.
Wow. Then, yeah, I mean, I've never played a baseball video game. I'm not a big baseball fan myself, but this has to be enormous news for baseball fans and baseball video game fans. But as you said, too, it's also a huge step for Sony. And do we know of a Nintendo franchise that has been taken to other platforms? Because I was trying to think of one as you said that, and I'm blanking.
The only thing that I can think of is, and I don't know if this is actually going onto other platforms, but like the Mario Olympic games. I feel like I might have seen that on an Xbox. I don't really even know.
Has Mario been on another platform?
I honestly, I don't
Actually,
I don't think
Sonic
so.
is a good example that moved to other consoles.
Yeah, that's a good example. Because Sonic was originally Sega?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But now Nintendo pretty much has the rights on that, right? Or no?
We play it on Xbox. We play it on Nintendo.
Oh, so no.
But I don't know who owns the rights to Sonic. Yeah, it's like I said, this breaks precedent. And it's one of those things, for me, it's interesting, not so much from a baseball perspective, because I've honestly never played a baseball video game in my life, but from the perspective that we're seeing these cross-minglings of the platforms that for the last, I feel like 20 years have kind of stayed in their own lane. Like this year, we've seen even agreements between Microsoft and Sony trying to get the cloud gaming thing going, and basically Microsoft leveraging their existing networks and saying like, hey, Sony will help you out. Seeing these kind of gaming partnerships is just, in my mind, really good for us as gamers moving into the future, because competition is good, and seeing these different companies basically prop each other up and support each other just means that we have more choices, more competition, because if these games are available across platforms, you don't necessarily have to decide. That means that their hardware is going to have to be good. No matter what console that you're going to, they have to make sure that they're competitive. So I'm kind of psyched to see this.
What interests me about this one is the statistics of who's going to be playing it on the new consoles. And the reason why is because what got me into the Madden games was me playing them as a kid on my Xbox. And because I never played the baseball games, because back in those days I only had an Xbox, I didn't have a bunch of different consoles. So I just kept getting the new one and the new one and the new one, and never got into the baseball game. And as such, I don't see me buying a baseball game and getting into that, I guess we'll call it franchise. So that said, is there people maybe chomping on the bit that always wanted one and just either didn't have the console for it, or...
So, yeah, that's a good point, because I think a lot of sports franchises like Madden and FIFA is another one we haven't mentioned. They have like brand loyalty, right? Where they have people who just buy the new one every year. And with the show, you're not going to get that from Xbox players, just because they've never really had this game before. So, it is an interesting question. What is the customer base going to look like for this? I agree with Nerdbomber that it's the latest in a continuing trend of like great news for gamers, where things are starting to unify. But so Techtic, your baseball game experience it's fair to say it's limited.
Correct. I think I played backyard baseball when I had the big bobblehead things.
Oh my! I forgot about that game.
Baseball.
That
game
was amazing.
Dope. Yeah. The only time I've ever played a baseball game, I think, was backyard baseball, and I was at a friend's house, and it was on the Wii. And a friend of mine was pitching, and he was kind of tall, so he pitched and followed through, and completely shattered a ceiling light fixture. And we were like, no more baseball games.
Oh wow!
So, but this is not a Wii thing, so everyone should be safe. No need for concern.
Actually, not to get off on a tangent, but that's just making me kind of wax nostalgic. The whole backyard games line of games was amazing, and I feel like there's really nothing like that for kids. But that got me into, because I wasn't dexterous enough to play Madden. I couldn't think quick enough, and
Madden's hard.
Yeah, it is. Even now, I have a hard time playing, and I'm not bad at it per se, but I'm definitely not good at it. And all of the sports games as a kid, it's a very difficult entry point, because you have to have some sort of skill. And it's kind of sad to me. I don't know, do those games exist anymore? I hope they do, because for kids really that really got me into sports gaming. I remember you could even you got to draft your team or whatever out of the kids on the bleachers. And there was always the one kid in the baseball game, I don't remember his name, but he always had the baseball hat and chewed gum, and he had the best stats. And if you got him, it was a home run for your team. Good times.
There was a backyard baseball that came out in 2015. I just looked it up. But that was an iOS game, so it doesn't really count. The last console game was Backyard Sports Sandlot Sluggers, and that was 2010. So I think it's safe to say that they put that in the deep freeze.
Darn.
Yeah, upsetting. I do, and we should move on, but before we do, you mentioned Madden. I've watched football literally my entire life. I used to play football all the time when I was a kid. Madden, I could never figure it out. When I see that there's Madden tournaments, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because Madden is surprisingly challenging.
Well, honestly, if you think about it, you have to be good at play calling. And so when you're playing in elementary school, or you're playing in your backyard, or even just watching, it's easy to say oh, they should have done this, oh, I should run here. But when you actually have to think about making play calls, making offensive and defensive calls against someone else who's that invested in the game, the people who play Madden are usually pretty intense about it. They study plays, they know the books, they can make plays themselves that they think are creative. Right. So when you're playing against someone who's actually thinking through the plays and the game like that, at a very high level, it's hard to compete. It really is.
Well, even when I used to play the Madden games, I remember on offense, I would have a relatively good sense of like, okay, I should run here, I should pass, and I should run this pass play. When I was on defense, I was like, what's a zone? Like, I didn't know, I didn't understand it at all. I would just basically pick a random play or like pick whatever John Madden told me to play, and I would do that. So like, yeah, there's like a huge amount of skill associated with that I also don't think you necessarily get that in other sports games, again, because of the play calling. But again, this is totally off topic. We are starting to run short on our allotted time, so we need to move on to a quick topic, which is actually a big topic, which is a new BioShock game is in development. So 2K just announced the formation of a new studio called Cloud Chamber, which will be essentially taking the lead on the next title in the BioShock series. So there's a lot of details here. It assembles a lot of the BioShock veterans, but it does not have the original creator, Ken Levine, who apparently has moved on to bigger and better things, I guess. In the interest of time, I do kind of want to just ask you guys, I'm playing through Infinite right now, so, lack of spoilers would be good. But what are you hoping to see? Are you hoping for a return to Rapture? Are you hoping for a return to Columbia? Are you hoping for something different? Are you hoping for mechanics that are the same? If there was one thing you could ask for, what would it be?
Me personally, I think you have to keep the core mechanics of the game kind of the same. I think even though they were called different things in the original BioShock and
it's exactly the same.
BioShock Infinite, it's pretty much exactly the same. I think you need to keep that core mechanic. Otherwise, you kind of deviate from what a BioShock game is in its DNA. That said, I think we kind of put this vote up on a poll on our Twitter account, and I agree with the majority of the people that I would like to see a completely new setting. So for me, Rapture was just a little bit too scary. I think there's still a lot of meat that you could dig into in Rapture and just like the backstory of everything. But unfortunately for me, I had a difficult time playing through the first game just because I am a huge pansy and I don't like things that jump out of me in the dark. Like, I enjoyed it. It was a good game. I didn't finish it. I ended up having to like watch Let's Plays to just get through it. BioShock Infinite, meanwhile, while I loved that, I kind of want to keep that. Like, in my mind, that story was so good. I don't want to revisit Columbia because I don't want to touch it. It's something that I could almost like crystallize and put on my shelf as like one of the better gaming experiences that I think I can remember having in a very long time. Like, that was one of those games that I trekked through in almost a day and a half. I just binged it and it was amazing. And so I wouldn't want to go back to Columbia because it was just kind of good. I don't want to damage that in any way. But I think there's so many things they could do. Give us a brand new setting. And there's so many things that you can do even with the storytelling. They always have a good twist. I would just be excited to see a new BioShock. I'm geeking out about this. Techtic, I'll throw it over to you.
So we've seen underwater. We've seen kind of basically on land. I want to see space now.
I was going to say Mars. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
That's what I would really want. I love the mechanics. Keep the mechanics the same. Keep the power-ups the same. Keep all the powers the same. But put it in space.
So almost like, and I know, Illeagle, that you played Prey. That kind of felt BioShocky, correct? I didn't get around to playing it yet, but...
I'm glad you said that because it was the comparison I was about to draw. Prey is... So I think Prey is a little bit more RPG than BioShock is, but only barely. And it has a lot of the same kind of mechanics where, similar to like Eve in the first two BioShocks, and I guess they call it salts in Infinite. I haven't gotten very far in Infinite yet. But there's a lot of that kind of thing going on in Prey as well. And Prey is just a fantastic game. I would strongly recommend it to anyone who is looking for a survival horror kind of game. But I agree. If I were to pick one of the two settings that I currently have played, I would definitely pick Rapture again. I thought Rapture was amazing. So far, I'm underwhelmed by Infinite. Which I know that's crazy. Everyone says it's like a life-changing game. I haven't gotten very far in it yet, so I'm willing to cut it some slack for the time being. I'm really excited about this because I think BioShock is an amazing franchise. That there's a lot more that they can do within this kind of framework of the gameplay that they have. And you mentioned space. I think that's a great idea. I think there are plenty of settings where, and you mentioned that Columbia's on land. It's not. It's really not, right? I mean, it's kind of in the sky. So like maybe there's like a jungle BioShock. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you can do. And,
Jungle BioShock would be fun, or even like Arctic BioShock.
Ooh, the suburbs. Go with the suburbs.
Yeah, BioShock like Suburbia would be something else. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we know exactly when this is happening. Apparently, their announcement says the title will be in development for the next several years. So this will be a PS5 game, an Xbox. What's the new next Xbox called? Something weird.
Oh boy,
Scepter? Is it Scepter or Spectre or something, or is that something else?
I don't remember. Oh, this is bad. I should know what the code name for Xbox is. My bad, Xbox fans.
I'm just gonna Google it really quick because this is embarrassing. We're supposed to be like a Project Scarlet. That's what it's called.
I knew it was something. I want to say Scorpio, but that was the last Xbox. It was like the Xbox One S, maybe. I don't even know. Too many code names. I just need like
close.
Give me a solid name, man.
Anyways, this game will be out on next gen consoles, probably a little while after the next gen consoles are released, from the sound of it. So get excited for that, BioShock fans. Let's do a quick round of what we're up to. I'm going to keep mine short. I mentioned Infinite. I haven't played a whole lot more of it, if I'm being honest, but I've been just really getting down with Christmas. I've watched a bunch of Christmas movies. I watched It's a Wonderful Life this past weekend, which is one of my favorites. I've watched both Home Alones, both Santa Clauses, because the third one doesn't exist, by the way. And I'm just loving it. I did a Christmas-themed escape room this week, and we got out and we set the record. No big deal. I'm just feeling the holidays, getting my shopping done. Not much else to report, to be perfectly honest with you, but that's fine given our time constraint. I will swing it over to Techtic.
So my biggest thing that I'm super, super excited for is I've been getting down with fantasy football. So,
oh God, yeah, okay.
This
is fair to talk about.
For starters, I stink at traditional fantasy football. I will always forget to bench the right people or not bench the right people, and it's just a lot of work to keep track of. And then when you make a mistake, you're stuck with it generally for the season, and it's tough to trade out of it. So what I like to do instead is through the Yahoo app, there's daily fantasy, and you could do it in groups of friends, or you can do there's a free one with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so lately on my weekly daily fantasy, I have been crushing it, so much so that I won me a whopping $4. And
yep.
I can't say I haven't been more excited in my life for $4.
I mean, hey man, you earned it. So I am in this league with Techtic. I don't know if you mentioned that in your little update, but I'm doing terrible. I'm in second to last place. The only person I'm ahead of is my brother. Shout out to my brother, who is more terrible than I am at this. Haven't won any money yet. Don't plan on winning any money. I'm out of all my fantasy playoffs. So it's not my year. It sounds like it's yours though. So that's pretty sweet.
Nerdbomber?
So for me, I've still been kind of slogging through Astral Chain. Slog isn't the right word because I've been having a ton of fun with it. I think I'm about halfway through the game now and still very, very much enjoying it. And the other thing that I've really been into is Christmas shopping, man. I got all of my Christmas shopping done this year already. I am on the ball. Yeah, I am done. 100%.
That's crazy.
I got a ton of really good deals. I got enough good deals where I could buy people extra gifts because I kind of do things like budgetary. Like I allot X amount of money for someone. So if I get a really banging deal, then they just get more stuff. So on Black Friday, I know this is like past, but like I got a super slamming deal where I got something like $70 cheaper than it usually is. That just means more gifts for everyone. So my last gift rolled in actually today, so I am good to go.
Man, I'm like halfway, and I'm like stressing about it. Also, incidentally, and I won't say where I saw you, but I saw you on Black Friday. It's the first time ever. Like, I saw you.
I was miserable.
It was like 5 in the morning. Yeah, it was our first stop of the day. Me and my dad always go out.
You guys look very chipper.
And I saw you with your parents. I'm a morning person, and my dad, I gotta tell you, it's crazy. My dad lives for Black Friday. I don't really get it. I don't think he likes shopping that much in general, but like he looks forward to Black Friday he loves the bustle and like the hustle and just the whole thing. And like, I think he's like almost kind of upset that like it's not what it used to be. Cause like now stores are open on Thanksgiving. So like the lines on Fridays aren't usually as long. I think it upsets him, which is crazy to me, but yeah, we had a good time. But yeah, I'm still quite a ways out on my Christmas shopping. I'm also quite a ways down the Fantasy Movie League rankings. I think it's safe to say at this point that I am asleep at the wheel. Let's talk about this week, and let's give another shout out to our wonderful Patreon producer, Ben Checkness, who came in at first place. I think I think he's come in first a few times this season. He's doing quite well. He played a bunch of Knives Out, which was smart. Knives Out was an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, I think I mentioned that last week. You should go see it ASAP. Techtic coming in at number 2. Woohoo! With about 67 million to our friend Ben's 71.5. Then we have Florida Hawk at 66, Hipster Pop Geek at 64, just about. Nerdbomber 63.5, Mecha Yoda 63, and oh, you guys tied. You guys played the exact same Cineplex. You just won the tiebreaker. Man, it's spooky to me how much that happens. Heckett's Tech at 55, Spitfire at 25, and then I'm hanging down at 9. It just keeps rolling over my old Cineplex, and I played Last Christmas a bunch of times, which I'm pretty sure is like tanking. So, yeah, and then rounding out top 10 is Justin AR Radio. Looking at the overall, let's see, we have Hipster Pop Geek still in a very comfortable first place with 509 million. Mecha Yoda at number 2 with 451. Heckett's Tech with 450. Techtic at 447. Nerdbomber at 441. Our good friend Ben at 439. Florida Hawk at 421. Justin AR Radio at 396. Devin Reed 394, and Spitfire at 358, and then I am off of page 1. I don't even know where I am. I don't care to know at this point. But we have a large clump of people right around 450, so it could be a very exciting last couple of weeks. There's 3 weeks to go in this season. If you want to get in on the action, if you want to pick some Cineplexes with us, head on over to fantasymovieleague.com, and our league name is Online Warriors Podcast. It is a locked league, but the password is podcast, all lowercase. That is the end of my Fantasy Movie League spiel.
Get into it.
So let's really dive into some Hallmark movies. What do you say?
All right, so I had a lot of fun with these. I don't think I realized just how many Hallmark Christmas movies that there are.
Many.
I knew it became like a fad in the last probably like 5 years or so, but these suckers go back into like the early 2000s. They have been pumping out Christmas movies for a very long time.
And like Netflix is getting in on this. All this like the Christmas Prince, like they come out like the Christmas Prince, the Baby Prince, and like Christmas. There's all kinds of sequels to it. It's crazy.
Actually,
I haven't seen a single one.
We watched a Netflix original Christmas movie a couple weeks ago. It was kind of subpar, I will say. It was like, with Hallmark movies, you know what you're getting, and they're cheesy, but like, the one that we watched was not very good.
What was it called? Shout it out, come on.
It was like the Advent Calendar or something.
That's a terrible name for a Christmas movie.
I don't know if that's what it was called, but it was basically
just called The Calendar.
It might have been. It basically was about an Advent calendar.
Netflix, the holiday calendar.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. It's just okay.
It was basically this one person kept getting really upset at people when they would call her out for saying, "Oh my goodness, in the month of Christmas, I saw a Christmas tree and this thing showed me a Christmas tree. This thing must be magic." And people were like, "No, you see Christmas trees around the holiday." And she kept going, "You're a jerk." And I was just like,
33% on Rotten Tomatoes, although it's only based on 6 reviews. Not many people have watched it, I guess.
Not many people should watch it.
A lot of people watch Hallmark Christmas movies. I know that. I think I've only seen one. I think I watched it last year, like on accident.
Really? My
A+.
mom, she digs these, man. I've seen so many of these Hallmark Christmas movies. They're all very formulaic, but they always leave you kind of like happy and warm and fuzzy on the inside. So...
yeah, it's like a lady used to live in the city and then she moves to the country and there's like a rugged guy. That's the one that I saw. It was amazing. Anyways, let's play this game.
All right. So I have a bunch of movie titles here. You have to tell me if they are real or fake.
Can't wait.
We'll do Techtic first because he has a little bit of an advantage since he has seen a lot of these movies with me. So we'll give him the go-ahead first, and then you guys can alternate. The first movie is Mingle All the Way.
Real.
That had better be real. If it's not real, we should make that movie.
That is a 2018 movie. Released.
Amazing title.
Yeah, that was a real one. Okay, my next one. That seemed a little bit too easy. Hope on Mistletoe Mountain.
Oh, God. I'm going to like reverse psychology myself. That seems super, super fake, but I'm going to say real.
Okay, Techtic, what do you think?
Also real.
All right, so I really faked you guys out on that one. I totally made that one up. Oh, yeah.
Dang
Look at
it.
me go.
There's definitely one then just called Hope.
I should have believed myself because it sounds so fake, but I was like, it can't be. That's too good of a fake name to be. Anyways.
I should basically just name all of these Hallmark movies. It's fine. All right, so you guys are tied right now. The next movie title that I have for you guys is Romance at Reindeer Lodge. Techtic, you go first on this one.
That one's fake also.
All right, Illeagle, how about you?
I have to pull ahead. I'm going to say real.
Okay, so Illeagle pulls ahead by 1 point. This was a real 2017
It just sounds
movie.
too raunchy.
Techtic, you ain't never been to Reindeer Lodge? Come on now.
How does this sound raunchy?
Romance at Reindeer Lodge.
Is romance raunchy now? Does that happen?
I don't know. I didn't think it was raunchy, but apparently Techtic really gets raunchy at the Reindeer Lodge.
The Reindeer Lodge is, it's a sensual place, but I pull ahead. Sweet.
All right, so the next one is Snowfall Sweetheart. And I think
That's
Illeagle,
fake.
you go first.
Yeah, that's fake.
Techtic?
That's fake.
Okay, so you guys both got that one right. I totally made that up. Went for some alliteration to throw you guys off, but you guys caught me on that one. All right, the next one is A Dream of Christmas. Techtic, start us off.
That's real.
You know what? That's fake. I think that's fake.
All right, so Techtic ties it up. This was a 2016 movie starring Nikki DeLoach. She's in a ton of Hallmark movies, and I think this might have been one of her first ones.
It's so generic. It's not. It sounds like if I had to make up a title, I would just say that without even knowing what the movie's about.
Yeah, I mean, it, like I said, it was very difficult because some of the titles of these Hallmark movies that they've been making for the last decade are like a word apart in difference. It's kind of crazy. All right, my next one, A Christmas Cook-Off.
That's real. That has to be real.
That's
I don't know
real.
how it's
I
I don't
agree.
care.
That's real.
I faked you guys out again. Oh, yeah.
Dang.
Oh, yeah. I made that up. That one, I drew inspiration from the Disney Channel original movie where the kid plays baseball and he really wants to be a chef.
Oh yeah, is it like Kevin? Is that his name?
Yeah, that's
What
where
a-
I drew
what
the
a movie.
inspiration for that one. All right.
Dang it.
This next one with a game all tied up, and I have 3 more left. This one is A Dad for Christmas.
Who goes first?
I think it was Techtic.
I'm going to go fake. I can't.
No, that's real. That's
Okay,
it's too good.
Techtic pulls ahead on this one. I did make
it.
this one up. However, there are a ton of
Is it
titles.
a mom for Christmas?
There's like a husband for Christmas, a prince for
Oh,
Christmas,
dang it.
a princess for Christmas. So there's a ton of them. A puppy for Christmas. So
Why not a dad for Christmas?
I
Why
don't
not a
know.
dad?
I don't know. No one wants one apparently.
Crap on a stick. All right, let's continue.
Okay, so Techtic is up by 1, I believe, at this point. So we have 2 left. This next one is A Christmas Detour.
This is real.
I'm going to say this is real as a strategic positioning.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fair.
So you guys are both right. This was a 2015 movie starring DJ Tanner. Her flight gets detoured and she realizes she doesn't love her fiance anymore and goes for the rugged bartender.
Bad choice.
Okay, so here's where
Bad
we are.
choice.
I mean, no matter what the title is, I'm going to say whatever the opposite of what Techtic says, because that's just, we have
That's
to
how
do it
you
that
win
way.
the game.
And, well, it's how we tie, and then we have to figure out a tiebreaker.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so I have my final title is Single Santa Seeks Mrs. Claus.
Okay, that's a porno. I'm going to go fake.
All right.
I think that's real. I'm confident. I think that's real.
Illegal gets the point on this one.
Yeah.
This was a 2004, one of the early day ones, about
It's
the
too
heir
long.
to the Santa throne needing to find a wife.
Okay, so now we need a tiebreaker, and now I go first. Man, this is
Okay.
intense, guys.
So I
Christmas
have
drama.
to come up with
It
a
basically
tiebreaker
sounded like
question.
Santa looking for singles in your area.
So
Do
this
like,
one,
can you do like a Price is Right or something?
this is what I'm going to do because I don't want to look like I'm making one up. So
You're right.
this one isn't so much necessarily a Christmas Hallmark question, but a Hallmark question in general. How many Hallmark movies has DJ Tanner, aka Candace Cameron Bure, starred in?
Oh, okay. And we're doing Price is Right. We're doing bust rules or just closest
Bust rules.
bust rules. Boy, it's 6. I'm saying 6.
All right, Techtic, what do you got?
13.
All right, so Techtic is closer here. She, at least in 2018, which this is a little bit dated, but 18 Hallmark movies she had starred in, and I'm sure she's been in a few more this year that just haven't been added to my list.
Come on,
yet.
girl. You're better than that. Come on, DJ.
She's not, though.
She's perfect for them. She's like, sweet girl, loves Christmas. I mean, it's her niche.
I mean, these aren't all Christmas ones, though. She's been in, like, Real Murders and A Bone to Pick, where she looks... You know that, like, Carrie Underwood music video where she's smashing the guy's car? She kind of has that vibe going on in this one movie poster. So, I mean, she's not all innocent. Not all innocent.
Dug her key into the side of the pretty little souped-up four-wheel drive.
Yep. So Techtic takes this one home. He is
it's upsetting.
the Hallmark Christmas expert, which... To be fair, kind of expected that a little bit because he's watched a fair share of these with me and my mom.
Yo, chill. You're
Yeah, but
embarrassing me in front of my friends.
I really wanted this one.
You know what? You'll just have to get him next week.
Gosh. Well, congratulations, Techtic. You're the Hallmark champion. And congratulations to all of you for making it through another episode of Online Warriors podcast. Probably doesn't feel like much of an accomplishment, but we're happy you stuck it out. And we really appreciate you listening, as always. And we would love it if you went on over to Apple Podcasts, left us a review. We do read those and appreciate the feedback. And we would also love to interact with y'all on the social medias. Guys, we all have Twitters. I am at WW84. We have at OW Nerdbomber and at WW84. And then there's also our main account at Online Warriors 1, where we post all kind of polls. We mentioned the poll about BioShock, but we also found out last week that mashed potatoes are in fact classy. So thank you for that. To give you all an update, I'm sure you were all really desperately waiting to hear. But go hit us up on Twitter. We'd love to chat with you. And in the meantime, have a fantastic week.
See you next week.
Bye.